In past episodes, I've talked about the assets and materials that you need when you're developing a film project in order to be able to pitch it. But what I want to explore today are the hidden costs of development that oftentimes we don't think about, right? In the past, and I still stand by this, of course, what you need for pitching is a pitch deck, right? A script, obvious, proof of concept, a budget, and an investor package, right? Those are the things that I think you overall need. And then also having talent attached really helps, and so forth. But I would say the other stuff is like core of what you need. Anything beyond that is beneficial and really does help, but not required. But when we think about those things, right, we think about, okay, pitch deck, so I need to hire a graphic artist, or maybe you're artistically inclined with a proof of concept. It's like, okay, cool. Whether it's live action animation, what does it cost to create, that minute, 2 minute, 5 minute, whatever it is, piece of video that you can showcase. And that goes both for filming it as well as post-production in terms of sound, music, yada, yada, yada. But there's other stuff that we don't generally think about that in many ways can add up very quickly. And so I want to highlight that, right? First and foremost, legal fees. When you're working on a film project, right, you're going to need people to review contracts. Now, that can be, if you're going to work with a studio, then it's a little bit more simplified because, whatever the studio decides, they're going to present the contract, and then you can do a back and forth, yada, yada, yada. That's kind of straightforward. But, more on the indie side, you're probably going to have to work with co-productions and various investors, excuse me, and that can get pretty complicated. So you're going to need someone to look over that. But also even just attaching talent, as I mentioned, these are all things, anything that requires any sort of contract. Also, just as a baseline, your creative partnership, right? If you're bringing people and having them own the idea and stuff like that and be part of it, then what does that agreement look like? So having all these things in place costs money. Secondly, travel and event costs. So oftentimes when you're going to be pitching, right, you want to go to the places where there are people there. Let's say Annecy for me, or the American Film Market, or Berlin is a big one. Or just in general, right, there might be someone in Florida or Idaho, doesn't matter, an individual that is a high net worth individual and they want to invest in your movie, and it's like, okay, hey, let's have a meeting. Well, there's going to be a cost to get there, or for them to come to you. They're going to expect you, excuse me, to foot that bill, right? And so there's both a cost in that travel and accommodations, food, all that stuff. And if you are going like AFM and stuff like that, there's the registration and things of that nature. So these are all various costs to consider. Now, as far as the actual materials, right, you might need to hire a graphic designer. Perhaps you know people that are already part of the project and they'll kind of contribute that way. But oftentimes, at least for me, I need someone that knows how to, excuse me, really budget. And so to make sure that we have an accurate budget, well, hiring a line producer is going to cost some money. Also, you're going to want somebody that is knowledgeable with all the tax incentives and things to take advantage of in various states, perhaps other countries, and so forth. So this is going to be a big cost, part of it, right? Because you're hiring this person who is an expert to really deep dive. And, you could, in theory, put it into one of these programs and have it spit out a budget, but you really want somebody who's done this to accurately assess everything so that way you feel confident about the number that you're asking for. You can explain certain things and all of that. And that side of it takes time. So you want to make sure you get that right. Technology. That's a big, excuse me. That's another big cost of development. So like an Adobe subscription, right? That costs money. I use a thing called Shutterdeck, which allows me to pull reference images and things of that nature. That's another cost, right? So any tool for creation of all these things, Studio Binder, for example, allows you to write a script and also plan things. This could be another version of that. Google Drive, right? If you're storing stuff online or any sort of cloud storage, really, hard drives, upgrading your Zoom, like whatever it is, these are costs and they can add up. A big cost will be talent acquisition. So if you're trying to attach talent, there might be an upfront fee required to get them to sign on to be part of the project. That can be quite hefty, especially if they're A-list. So, stuff to keep in mind. And then just, excuse me, the printing cost alone, right? So when you go to these events that I highlighted earlier, well, you're going to want to print out the script, the pitch deck, and whatever else, so that way you have a physical copy to both hand out, showcase, and stuff like that. Also, just even business cards and things of that nature, right? That is a big cost. I mean, not necessarily when you look at it individually, but, do 30 copies of something in color and laminated or stapled and, blah, blah, blah. It adds up, right? So all these things are stuff to consider when you're just budgeting out the development cost of something, right? So when you're crowdfunding, let's say, for just purely development, keep all these factors in mind because at some point they will arise as part of the development process. So I don't want you to be blindsided by that. Also, one of the things I encourage you to do is I would love for you to comment down below and let me know anything that you think I might be overlooking. I just wanted to highlight these various things. This is not a comprehensive list, but just to get you guys thinking. And I would love if you could add on to that list, whether from experience or just as a creative exercise, so that way we had a more fuller list. But thank you as always for taking the time to tune in. I truly appreciate you. I apologize for the coughs, and I hope to see you next time.